find him guilty. Still with me, Los Angeles County Deputy Public Defender Philip Dube. Philip, your reaction to the verdict and sentence?
I say it all the time, Michael. The road to state prison is paved with many a man who took the stand. As soon as he testified, and I saw just how churlish and hostile and surly he was, I thought he's going down like the Hindenburg. I'm not kidding. The jury is not going to take kindly to him. And sure enough, they didn't buy his self-defense. It didn't fly. So I am not surprised. Now, to be fair, I have a real problem with what we call LWOP in criminal law for a murder, meaning life without parole. Obviously, he needs to go away. He needs to cool his heels. But I'm not sure that this should necessarily qualify as a capital murder where you would go away without the possibility of parole. I mean, even in California, where we have some of the most draconian sentences in the nation, with most homicides, you are at least eligible for parole after 25 years. And even if you commit it with a firearm, sometimes after 40 or 50 years. But life without parole means you're going to die behind bars.
You know what's interesting that you mentioned that? Word has it that he was actually offered a plea of 25 years to life. He had to do the 25, and then he would be eligible for parole. Who knows when he would have gotten it, but he would have been eligible. There would have been some hope there. And he didn't take that deal. And I'm wondering if you have a sense of why a defendant in a situation like this case was not a strong case. I don't care how you look at it, especially with the tack that the defense decided to take in terms of changing his story from a suicide to a self-defense story. Why do you think that happened in a case like this?
A couple of reasons. He probably figured that, the 25 itself would be a life sentence, that he wouldn't survive 25 years behind bars. That's probably the first reason. The second reason is he probably played chicken, saying, they'll come down off of it. They'll give me a better deal as we get closer to trial. And I'm just speculating. I have no personal knowledge. And then, as you start to see the whites of the jurors' eyes and they start coming in, all offers are off the table. At that point, once you've now put prosecutors to their proof, the subpoenas have gone out, they've had to prep their witnesses and get everybody into court and pick a jury, you're getting LWOP. And they were able to prove this to a jury beyond a reasonable doubt. And viewers should understand, too, that typically in the United States, most trials go this quickly. This was swift justice. They just started picking a jury. They rested, they put on their case, and you have a verdict in 2 hours. They're moving on to the next one. This is typically how they roll.
Yeah, this was a very, very quick verdict. I predicted 3 hours. We've done this long enough, Philip, and I knew with the way the evidence played out, his performance on the stand, I agree with you. I didn't think the jury was buying it at all, which is why I want to ask the next question. I'm wondering, I thought there was maybe a window here for the defense to perhaps stay with I did it, but I was in this drug haze. They made a pretty good argument about, they were involved in methamphetamines and they were in a drug haze. They had some pretty decent testimony from an expert who talked about the fact that long-term meth use can cause hallucinations. I might have gone in that direction and suggest, my client's long-term drug use caused him to have hallucinations along with her. He doesn't quite remember what happened in those 3 minutes in that room. He did it, he's guilty of something, but not premeditated murder.
You sold me. That works for me. No, listen, you're absolutely correct. And I think if they would have gone that route, you put the toxicologist on to testify, if they even had the specimen, as to how much meth was in his system. You call your expert to the stand, and then maybe even call another one in addiction medicine. So first you put on your toxicologist. You then put on your expert that can talk about, maybe a pharmacologist, the psychoactive effects of methamphetamine on the human brain and on human behavior. And then maybe other doctors who could come in to testify about his documented history of drug abuse without ever calling him to the stand. Because at least what it might do is get him a manslaughter or maybe even a second-degree murder. And the beauty of those is they don't carry a life without parole sentence. He would get a determinate or at least an indeterminate sentence with a chance of parole at some point in his life.
Yeah, and you know, Philip, you're exactly right. It was still a bit of a long shot. Going into this trial, I was worried about whether the prosecution had enough for premeditated murder. Well, they certainly convinced me. Not sure that defense would have worked, but who knows? All right, Philip, stand by. We're going to take a break right now. Breaking their silence, some of the jurors from the Derek Chauvin trial talk about the case